What's going on, guys? Sal here with another video for the oil drip. So today on the channel, we're going to be doing something a little bit different than we usually do. On the channel, we usually have vlog footage of the new cars we buy, going over the modifications, going over the specs, doing a little tour of it all. But today on the channel, I'm going to be going over my top 10 tips for buying a used car. Tebow and I have bought a lot of used cars, and we've learned a whole lot in the process, so we know a thing or two about what you should look for when you go out and buy your next car. So without further ado, let's get right to tip number 1, budget. So basically, you need to have a very firm budget when you're buying your next used car. You need to know exactly how much you want to spend. Personally, I want an AMG GT. But I don't have 90 grand laying around, so I searched around for the coolest sports car roadster that I could afford. That's how I ended up with the BMW Z4. Next little tip for budget is finance. So basically, I'm not a huge fan of financing because I'm not a big fan of paying interest, but I do understand that it's a great option for some people to get into the car that they want quicker. Know that if you're financing, you're going to be paying more for the car overall because of the interest. Another thing about financing is insurance. Know that you're going to have to keep full coverage insurance on your car throughout the whole time you're financing it. So, when you're looking at cars, go ahead and give insurance companies a call. They'll give you a free quote. Tell them the year, the make, the model, and they could give you a pretty good quote about insurance prices for the car you're looking for. Pro tip, when you're done getting your quote from the insurance agent, make sure you get a quote reference number. That's going to make it so much easier when you call them back. Just give them your quote reference number, and that'll be the best way to finalize your quote quickly without having to go over all that information again. Tip number 2, finding the right car for you. So basically, finding the right car for you depends on so many different variables. If you have a family, maybe don't get a 2-door roadster. Maybe if you're a single guy who just wants to have fun on the weekends and drive around the canyons, maybe don't get a big van or SUV. Pick a car that meets your needs. You have to make sure you have enough space for what you do. Do you have a family? Then you're going to need a back seat and trunk space. Do you need to haul stuff for work or school? Then you're going to need a truck, SUV, or a van. Are most of your meals bought in the McDonald's drive-thru? Then a JDM right-hand drive car probably isn't for you. What climate do you live in? If you live somewhere where it snows or it rains a lot, you're going to want all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive because it's no fun in the snow in a front-wheel drive car just slipping and sliding around. So consider those options like 4-wheel drive, third row seating, trunk space, power, and infotainment because all of those things are going to determine what makes you most comfortable in your car. Tip number 3 is research. All right, now you've decided on what car you want. Great. Now it's time to figure out exactly what you're getting into. Before I buy a car, I like to go on Google, YouTube, and Reddit and forums, basically anywhere where I can gather more information about the new car that I'm going to buy. The forums are actually super helpful because it's full of a bunch of people talking amongst each other about what common problems they're having with their car. So it's a great place to look if you want to know about common problems, pattern failures, things you should look out for in the car you're choosing. Also, certain cars have different packages such as Sport, Limited, Turbo, so you want to know exactly which one you want and which one is being advertised. Also, exotic and foreign cars are awesome. We love them here on the Oil Drip, but the thing is, if you live in a small town or a place where foreign mechanics aren't readily available, that could be a problem. Sometimes you pull into a mechanic shop with a BMW or a Mercedes or something, and the mechanic won't even touch it. They say, I'm not touching that because honestly, they don't know how to work on them. It takes a very specialized mechanic to know how to work on some of these cars. So make sure that you do a nice Google search and you look around your area to see what mechanics are around, so you know that they'll be able to work on your car. Tip number 4, 60% brain, 40% heart. Now, I know some people aren't going to like this tip, but you need to hear it because it's going to save you a lot of money and headaches over the years. The Greek freak said, life's too short to drive boring cars. And he's not wrong, but not all of us have $228 million in the bank. So you're going to have to know exactly what you're getting into before you buy your next used car. Buy a car that you love and make sure it's for all the right reasons. I love the brand new Kia Soul. It's comfortable, it drives just fine, I'm very happy in it, but it's too damn ugly, so I'll never own one. But if I wasn't so worried about other people's opinions, damn right I'd have one in my driveway. Now here's another one people aren't gonna like, muscle cars. If you're looking at a Mustang, a Camaro, a Corvette, a Challenger, Charger, BMW M car, or any AMG, you better be damn sure you know the history of that car because most likely it's been beaten to hell by the previous owners, especially younger guys. Sorry to say it, but it's true. Guys buy these cars and they race them, they do donuts in them, they abuse them. So if you're gonna get a car like that, you're gonna wanna know the history of that car. And that leads perfectly into tip number 5, Carfax. Ask the seller for a Carfax. If they don't have one, you can easily get one if you ask them for the VIN number. Now, I'm not gonna lie, A Carfax is kind of pricey. It's about $40 to pull your own Carfax. But if you're like me and you know someone who works at a car dealership, you can have them pull one for free because they have a membership or something like that. I don't know exactly how it works. Tebow could tell you. If the seller doesn't want to give you the VIN number for some reason, that feels kind of suspicious in my opinion. If I was you, I'd move on. But it's all up to you. You know, you need to go and you need to decide for yourself. On certain websites like OfferUp, sometimes the VIN number will be provided because they entered the VIN number, and I think websites like OfferUp like have a connection, a partnership through Carfax, so they can pull Carfax reports and show them right there on the ad. So that's super helpful. So look out for that. So once you've been filled in with the history of the car from the Carfax or from the owner or all your research, it's time to set up a viewing of the car with the seller. But there is a right and wrong way to do that, and that's going to lead us right into tip number 6, which is etiquette. So when contacting the seller, be polite. Don't send them a stupid lowball offer right away because they're just going to get mad and they're going to ignore your message. They're probably going to block you and they won't respond when you try to send them more messages saying, just kidding, please, can I see the car? So just be polite right off the bat, and that's going to be the best way to get your foot in the door with the seller. It's perfectly all right to ask the seller if they'll accept a lower price, but I've learned that this is usually best saved for after the test drive because then you have more things to negotiate and it just doesn't sound like you're trying to lowball right away. Another good thing to do is just to ask the owner about all the maintenance, any accidents, number of previous owners, all before you see the car, and just see if it lines up with what you found out on your Carfax, because you don't want to have inconsistencies in the story. Because after all, you know, this is a big purchase, you know, you're spending thousands of dollars, so you don't want to make the wrong choice. So that's going to lead us right into the next tip. Tip number 7, the pre-purchase inspection. So when you go see the car, there are some very, very important things you want to go look for. And for this, I'm actually going to let Garage Sal take it away.
All right, so now I'm out in the car and we're going to go over a few things for the inspection. The first thing you're going to want to check for is dashboard lights. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need to look for on the dashboard while you do it. So basically, what you're going to want to do is first you're going to take the key and you're going to turn the car to the on position. You're not going to turn it all the way on. You're just going to click it until you see the dashboard lights light up. All right, car's in the on position. Now, as you can see, the check engine light, the seatbelt, battery, and oil light are on. Now these lights are supposed to be on right now because they're just showing you that they work. The thing is, if you have it on this and you don't see the check engine light or the battery light, something's wrong. The car should be showing you this. So then when you start the car up, these lights should go away. Now that these lights are off, that gives you somewhat of an indication that everything's okay. But the seller could have cleared them before you came to see the car. So what you're going to want to do is take your test drive around, maybe a mile or two if possible, and make sure none of those lights come back on. Next, we're going to go outside and we're going to look for the next most important thing to check for, and that's going to be rust. Grab yourself a flashlight, and you're going to get under the car and check for rust. So you want to look on the frame, and as you can see here, this car has a little bit of rust on it, but this rust is what you call surface rust. This isn't a big deal. What a big deal would be is if you could press on it and it would crack or fall through. This is just superficial, just on the surface. So you want to check the frame all around. You want to go and check the chassis, and that's going to be where you're going to see the rust. And if there's big rust holes poking through or anything like that, this isn't a car you want to buy. Next thing you're going to want to look for is leaks. Pop the hood. First thing you're going to want to do is go all around the engine bay, and you're going to want to see if there's oil or any other leak, any other liquid splattered around inside. Now mine's obviously coming off of a steam clean, but before we did steam clean it, we checked to make sure all these things were okay. Next, you're going to want to move to the ground. Check the ground below the car, and then if you can get low enough, check the undercarriage and see if there's any liquid or anything splattering around. You want to check all right under the engine and then under back behind the differentials, because differential fluid can leak, engine oil could leak, coolant could leak, so you want to check all around and just make sure you don't see anything wet. Next thing you're going to want to do while you have the hood open is you're going to want to check all the fluid levels. You're going to want to check your coolant, check your engine oil, check all the things that you can. You can check your engine oil right here, your brake fluid, and some cars even have an option to check transmission fluid. Be advised though that if you have a radiator in the front with a cap, you don't want to open that when it's hot. That could blow up in your face, so make sure you check all these things cold. Next, we're going to move over to the wheels, more specifically the tires. You're going to want to check the tread on your tires. You want to make sure that it's not wearing uneven on one or the other side. That could show an issue with the alignment or something more serious. Next, on the tire, you can actually figure out when this tire was made, so you can see how old the tire is. So right here, there's a number. Let me see if I can focus it. 1418. So that basically means that this tire was made in the 14th week of 2018. So that's how you can tell if your tire is old. So even if the tire looks good, that does mean it could still be old. So you just want to check that, make sure your tires aren't too old so you don't get any issues with dry rot or anything like that. The next thing you can check is brake pads. You can check and see how thick the brake pads are. Mine are nice and thick, but if they were worn, you can use that to negotiate on the price. Because brake pads aren't that expensive, but sometimes labor to put them in is. The next thing you're gonna want to do is make sure all your lights work. Make sure your lights are on, then hit the hazard lights. So as you can see here, both sides, the blinkers are working, both the taillights are also working. You can see the side door indicator is also working. Then in the front, you can see both the headlights are working and both the blinkers are working. So the brights are working, as you can see. The last thing to do would be to check the brake lights. So both of those brake lights are working, hopefully, unless I get a surprise during editing. The last thing you're going to want to check for is any signs of damage. So a good place to start would be right here in the wheel wells. A great way to start is to set your fingers in between the tire and the edge of the wheel well and make sure there's the same amount of space on both sides. So right here, as you can see, a perfect 4 fingers fit in between. Now let's move over to the left. And the exact same over here. Another good thing to check for is to make sure that all your panels are the same color, because if someone has front end damage, they could easily replace the panel, but it might not be the same white as the door, and same goes for the doors. That's why sometimes you see cars rolling down the street with green doors when it's a red car. They just went to a junkyard and they found a match. Another good test is to check the spacing between the bumper and the front panel. This one is pretty consistent all the way around, just a nice even line. It doesn't look like it's rubbing. And then same over on this side. Now basically, if this was a ½ inch away and it was touching and then not touching, but the other side looked different, you know something's going on. The bumper is either disconnected from its brackets or it's been hit. All right, so now that you know what to look for, let's head back inside for tip number 8.
Alright, I'm back with tip number 8, and tip number 8 is the test drive. And much like the pre-purchase inspection, there is definitely a few things you want to look for while you're doing the test drive to make sure everything's functioning the way it should with the car. Try to get the car on the highway. You want to see how the car performs at highway speeds. You want to test the acceleration, the braking, the turning. You want to make sure nothing feels wobbly in the steering wheel. You want to make sure that the car doesn't hesitate when applying gas. And you also want to make sure the car can stop, because all of these things are super important for having a nice, safe vehicle. And while doing all this, keep an eye on the dashboard. You want to make sure that you don't see any warning light come on. You want to make sure that the check engine light isn't coming on. Keep an eye on the temperature gauge, make sure it isn't running too hot, and drive it for a mile or two, because sometimes it takes the computer a couple miles to reassess if there's a problem in the engine. So just look out for that. If possible, and if you have the expertise, bring a scan tool with you. If you can plug a scan tool into the OBD port and you can read all the data, you can understand what's going on, that's going to be such peace of mind when you finally bring that car home, because you saw the diagnostics and you know exactly what's going on. Those scan tools, they figure out everything. So if you know how to read the data, you'll be in luck. Tip number 9 is negotiation. And in my opinion, this is probably the most important tip of the entire video. First of all, if you believe the car is overpriced, if the seller's asking too much money for it, feel free to ask for a lower price. You can negotiate everything with a used car. That's what's so great about it. That's why I like buying used cars over new cars. That, and I can't afford new cars. So moving on. So just by asking, sometimes you can get the seller to take off a couple $100s right off the bat, because they're waiting on someone to come by and pay full price and not think twice about it. So sometimes, if you feel it outright, you could just ask for a couple $100s off, especially if you feel that the car is overpriced. Also, don't show how eager you are about the car. This could be the car of your dreams, and that's fine, but don't let the seller know that, because if you do, they're going to use that against you when it comes to negotiating. If they see how bad you want it, they're going to be less likely to take off money, because they know you're going to walk away with this car no matter what. They know you'll pay full price if they don't accept your offer. Most used cars are going to be in need of some repairs, so use that when you're negotiating. Pick out any little thing that you see that wasn't advertised or that might be misleading, and make sure you let the seller know that you're not pleased with these little imperfections. Either way, you can use all of these slight little things to get a lower price on your car when you're negotiating. Are you fucking kidding me? When using a site like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, any of those, you can see how long the car's been online. If you see that the car's been posted for months, you can definitely use that to get a lower price on the car, because they're trying to get rid of it. If it's been up for 2 hours, they're probably firm on their price. But if it's been up for 3 months, yeah, they're probably willing to come down a little bit, because they're just ready to get that thing out of their driveway. So make sure you take that into consideration, because most likely the seller's going to take a couple $100s less rather than have you walk away. Lastly, I'm going to share with you a trick that my dad taught me. So basically, the seller wants $5,000 for the car, but you only want to pay $4,500 for it. So what you're going to do is you're going to bring a friend and bring the $5,000, but you're going to put $4,500 in your pocket and put $500 in their pocket. So after you do the test drive, after you do the inspection, say you like it, but you only have $4,500. You tell the seller that. The seller's going to say, oh, the least I can do is 48, or he's going to say, oh, I can't go a dime below 5,000. And you're going to say, all right. Let me go ask my friend if he has some money I can borrow. Then you go over to your friend and you ask him if they have the money. And worst case scenario, you have the full amount and you walk away with the car. But I've tried this once before and I said the same thing. I said, oh, I've only got $4,500. Let me go see if my friend has a couple extra hundred. And I'm not kidding. On my walk over to my friend, the seller says, wait, come here, fine. I'll take your $4,500. And it was a success. That tip worked. My dad's tip worked. So I wanted to share that with you because you could use it. I mean, it's a ballsy move, but if it works, you're going to feel like a champion driving away in that car after pulling that one. Tip number 10 is registration. Congrats on the new car. It's yours. It's finally yours. The last thing you have to do is let the state know. They don't know it's yours yet. Here in California, I think you have about 10 days to register your car, and that date is from the date that was put on the title on the transfer of sale. If you register your car after that 10-day period, you're going to get penalized and you're going to have extra fees. So make sure you get the car registered before that 10-day period. Oh, but I hate going to the DMV. The DMV sucks. I wait all day. The line never moves. Well, don't worry. I've got you there too. There's websites you can go to like needtags.com or carregistration.com where you can register it right online without having to go to the DMV. You put in your VIN number, you put in all the relevant info of your sale, and you register that car to yourself right there. They send you the registration right in the mail, and you don't have to go to the DMV. Now, this does vary state by state. I know that those two websites are available here in California. I'm not sure if they're available in other states, but I know that certain states do have programs like that. So make sure to check and see if that's available in your state. So thank you guys so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you learned something new here and you liked the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Also leave a comment letting me know if I missed anything, because I'd love to hear more tips and tricks that you guys may have used in the past or plan to in the future about going out and buying a new used car. Also, if you're interested in a Word document about these top 10 tips, email us at theoildrip@gmail.com and I'd be happy to send you a copy so you can use them when you go out and buy your new used car. If you're new here and this is your first time watching a video on the channel, we hope you check out our other videos. We upload every Friday, and we just basically vlog all of our automotive adventures. We go over the new cars we buy, the maintenance on them, the repairs, the modifications we want to do, and surprise each other and get into some fun battles and challenges and stuff like that. So we hope you check out our other videos. And lastly, if you're in the complete opposite boat from this video and you're trying to sell your car, we've got you covered there too. Next week, my partner Tebow is going to be making his top 10 tips about selling your used car, so make sure you check that out. But until then, we'll see you next time on The Oil Drip.